guys, this is Zach. I'm traveling the road to 15 in 15.
This is Josh, the Highland Wanderer.
And this is Travie, and I am running the Blue Bombing Run.
And we are the Marathon Men. Now, last time we didn't actually have a name, but since then we've had some listener suggestions, we've thought it over, we've talked it over, and we've decided that we are the Marathon Men, which will allow us to continue with further marathons down the line if we should so choose. This specific podcast is the Pantheon of Gaming Podcast, also known as the Podcast. As Josh mentioned last time, it's good because we're covering the main RPG, the main platformer, and the main action adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we doing today, guys?
All right.
A little cold. A little cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
cold. I'm a little tired myself. I'm just waking up.
Yeah. Well.
Time difference fun.
Yeah. What would it be in 8 a.m. over there?
Yeah, and that's early for me because I'm a lazy piece of crap.
Hey,
Well, it's also
that's why we're doing
Saturday.
this.
It is Saturday, and I've got a busy day ahead. Good way to start it off.
Absolutely.
I believe in the last episode we talked about where we thought we would be at this point. We didn't exactly know when the next episode would happen. I know for one fact I said I would be at Mega Man 6 at this point, but I'm actually at Mega Man 8, which is a miracle in itself considering how hard Mega Man 7 was. Um, so where are you two gentlemen at this current point in time?
Well, I currently am working on Majora's Mask, which just recently saw its 3DS debut. I believe it was February 15th. No, it was February 13th, wasn't it?
It was earlier in the week sometime, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not playing that version, correct?
But I am not playing that version. No, I'm not going to be doing the 3DS run. I want to play it the way it was supposed to be played, the way they originally designed it
That's
on the
right,
Nintendo
damn it.
64. That's right. It's proving to be pretty difficult at this point, and I wanted to be from my last podcast to hear. I wanted to be on Majora's Mask, be playing through it before the next one came out. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to beat it, but I did get a 1 day head start on it, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Nice.
It's a good game.
And you're playing that on an N64, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I wish I had all the old consoles to be able to play all the old games on instead of emulating. But, emulating at least makes it easy to play it on the go.
Yeah, and the screenshotting is a lot better too. I hate
Oh,
having
yeah,
to try to take pictures of the
for
TV, and
sure.
I'm never at a good advantage, like a good vantage point to take a picture. So.
There's always some sort of glare coming from a light or the sun. The stupid
hmm
sun getting in the way all the time.
Why does it try to ruin our video games?
I
Yeah.
know.
Go away, son. We don't
Yeah.
need you to play.
Aside from the marathon, I'm trying to play Dying Light, and zombie games are not meant to be played with sunshine.
Hmm.
No.
So I've actually met my goal as well, Trevi. Done
Which,
with Final Fantasy 3 or near the end of Final Fantasy 3, and I beat that on about a week ago. And I've just the other day started Final Fantasy 4, so I am right on track.
How are you enjoying Final Fantasy IV so far?
It's so plot heavy, which is
hmm
such a nice change after Final Fantasy 2, just grinding, go to a new area and die and die and die. Um, Final Fantasy 3 picked up the pace a bit in that the story wasn't super intense, but it was always moving. Find whatever I need to find or talk to whoever I need to talk to, and they would push the plot forward, and it would always move. It kept going. I'd do a few fights, I'd find a boss, I'd kill him, and it would progress. And it was really well paced, I thought.
hmm
So the big way to improve upon that is by making the story more interesting, because at the end of the day, it's basically a rehash of Final Fantasy One's story, super boring. Final Fantasy Three's was better, but the characters were still pretty one-dimensional. But
Right.
Final Fantasy IV is the first one where you actually have an intro, quote-unquote, cutscene. It's the SNES days now, so it's still not
ooh.
proper FMVs like Travie can talk about soon.
Uh,
But me just reading what's happening and seeing the opening, events unfold instead of just, oh, you're in this world, play, figure it out.
Right.
There was some prologue, there was some story, there was drama unfolding before my very eyes. So I'm really liking how much story there is already.
Good. I'm
I'm
glad to
only
hear that.
like half in, so you can't say much.
Hmm.
All I know is it's fun because a lot of people have been waiting for me to get to 4 and 6, see what I think of them because I've never played them before. And already I've got more people following and commenting on my progress because it's 4 and they're really excited for me to play 4. So that's pretty cool.
And how exactly are you playing 4?
The original version, because there's so many versions and remakes and remasters and whatever.
Yeah.
I know you were having a hard time trying to figure out exactly which version to play, and you even asked a lot of people that same question.
Yeah, well, I'm because 4 and 6 are so beloved. I didn't want a crappy version.
Mhm.
I tried to figure out what the definitive version was, what people's favorite version was,
Mhm.
and after getting people saying the PSP or the DS version, those are ones with updated graphics, with 3D graphics, with I don't know what other changes. And actually, in retrospect, I wish I had played emulators of 1 and 2 now because I played the PS1 versions of them, continuing that and playing the original game. So it's if it was too easy, if it was too hard, I take that on. If it was a bad translation, I'll take that on. But playing through them to get the original experience. So Final Fantasy IV, I'm playing the SNES version that was originally released in the US, so it's actually branded as Final Fantasy II because
Right.
US. That's what I'm doing.
Sounds good.
Now, backing up a little bit, I mentioned how FF4 has quote unquote cutscenes, but Travie, I hear you can tell us about some actual cutscenes.
Are you talking about FMVs?
I might be talking about FMVs.
Well, I can't really talk about them just yet because they actually start in the Mega Man series with 8, which I'm
That's where you're up to right now.
yeah, which I'm just about to start. I actually just hit the Super Nintendo myself with Mega Man 7, which I don't know how salty or rage filled you want me to get on this podcast, but no, I don't really have many complaints about Mega Man 7. I actually thought it was a really great game, especially utilizing the Super Nintendo. But uh, the last boss, facing Dr. Wily in this iteration had to have been the most rage-inducing, white-knuckled, expletive-spitting uh, boss battle that I have ever encountered in a video game before. Because again, with Mega
Oh,
Man,
Sounds like fun.
yes, because with Mega Man, it always comes down to timed jumps, and during my excursion through this on my Twitter account at Return of the Yak, I, uh, I linked to a video of someone who did the boss battle without taking any hits. And I studied this video for quite a while because basically what Wily does is he shoots these four orbs out, and they're like homing missiles that come at you, and your time and your jumps have to be so precise, and you have to slide past them so precise not to take any damage. When I finally figured it out, and again, that's one of the sort of beauties, I guess you could say, of the Mega Man franchise is that,
Quote unquote.
yes, is that it's a lot of trial and error. It's like, okay, this didn't work, I'll try this, or that didn't work, I'll try this. And the more you fail, the more you succeed in the end, I suppose you could say. So, I finally beat it, and not to say I didn't take any damage, I took plenty of damage, and I think if you go back and you look at the photo I took of how much life I had left, it was either not a lot or it was after using about 3 E-tanks, of which the game allows you to hold 4. Um, so yeah, I've kind of taken a break from playing Mega Man games right now because I'm still riding that high of beating Mega Man 7. Well, other things in life have gotten in the way, like being, trapped under 7 feet of snow and school and work and other things. But getting back
I
to
love
your
being trapped under snow.
yeah, getting back to your original query though, I did just for the sake of laughs boot up Mega Man 8, um, and it was the first Mega Man game to be on the PlayStation. Now, if anyone has any memories of playing on the PlayStation, you'll remember how a lot of games on it like to use FMVs because they were the big thing at the time. Well, let me tell you, The FMVs in Mega Man 8, just based on the intro alone, are so hilariously bad, like, anime dub wise, that I don't. I think I'm gonna have so much fun playing the game just to watch those FMVs alone, because
We all know how much you like bad movies.
yes. So I mean, just think of like the worst anime dubs you've ever heard, and that's like just Dr. Light's voice alone is like, it sounds like they got this old guy who put cotton balls in his mouth who's like, Mega Man, you gotta go stop Dr. Wily. And he has like a weird lisp too. He doesn't say Dr. Wily, he says Dr. Wily.
Just like
Wow.
Hammer with the mumps.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where that's where I'm at right now. I'm just about to start Mega Man 8,
Nice.
but I got a lot of other things on my plate right now, so not exactly sure when I'm gonna get around to officially starting it. Maybe next week. I don't know. I got PAX East coming up in a couple weeks.
Hey.
Very nice. Yeah, I've been having a little bit of an issue getting into my Majora's Mask as well. Ocarina of Time took me a little longer than it should have, and Majora's Mask is taking a little bit longer to get into as well with life and whatnot.
Right.
But I'm hoping I'd want to hope this weekend that's not going to happen. Get to really get into it a little more. I've only gotten one temple down so far, and it's been frustrating.
Now you've played Majora's Mask before, right?
I've not beaten Majora's Mask. I
Oh,
have played it. I
okay.
have played it back when it was originally launched, the N64, back when I was a wee little lad.
Yes.
But I didn't really grasp it back then of exactly what was going on. I was annoyed at how it changed my Ocarina of Time, which was my beloved Zelda
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah. Sounds like me.
Yeah, but going through it now, I mean, it's a lot more deep. I mean, a lot of the characters you find have names now. They've got backstories in town. I'm sure a lot of listeners, if you're playing the Zelda games, you're probably playing Majora's Mask on 3DS right now, and you're not too unfamiliar with what's going on. But there's a neat item if you haven't played it called the Bomber's Journal. You get to be part of this little kid gang in the new town, and you actually can walk around and talk to the people. They're like day-to-day activities. You get their names, problems, and different things like that for, I believe it's up to 20 different characters at once, which means there's more than 20, but that gives you the scope of how in a Zelda game before this, you had NPCs. You had nameless people unless they were quest induced. And now you've got all these little people, all these townspeople that you start getting to know and kind of help out with their troubles and care about and watch them almost die over and over and over. And this
Yeah.
oh so lighthearted Zelda.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Um, with the Bomber Journal, you said you can have like 20 people or 20 stories or
yeah,
whatever at once.
yeah. It's a
Is that
maximum of
like
20 people.
is that like journal entries about the people, or is that you talk to the person and they give you a quest and you can have up to 20 quests in the journal, or what? I don't
It
understand exactly.
it is a quest based system. The way it explains it in the game is that you are part of this gang that you go and help solve the town's problems. And so you go and you
This is
talk
when
to
Link
people.
fell on hard times and had to join a gang.
He joined up with the ruthless bomber gang of Clockwork Town or Clock Town.
Nice.
Um, so when you talk to people, like if they say something and it seems like something's bothering them, Link will make a note in this journal and it'll say so and so, this person, the innkeeper, or this person, the innkeeper's grandmother has been, and you'll
Hmm.
take notes of like what times they're active because this is a very time-based game.
Yeah.
It's not just day and night like Ocarina of Time was. It's day and night over the course of 3 days that you're reliving over and over and over again. And so you have to try to make note of when they do different things on what days, then go back and try to help them. And the whole time travel laws are broken completely in this.
I have another quick question, kind of a slight deviation.
It's okay.
Uh, you've been playing Hyrule Warriors as well. I know not as part of the marathon, but have you played the Majora's Mask DLC for Hyrule Warriors?
Unfortunately, I have not. In my spare time away from Zelda, because I had to take a step back after Ocarina of Time, it kind of drained
Yeah.
me. I have also been playing Dying Light,
Nice.
and
But,
I've been using that to escape a little bit from Zelda
yeah, it's
motif
a bit of change of tone, change of graphics, change of everything really from things like Final Fantasy and Zelda.
and going something where I can just bash something in the face with a baseball bat and
Eh?
jump on top of a roof and run away into the night. Yeah,
imagine the zombies are wearing the masks.
Yeah, it just feels a little easier.
I was just wondering because the adventure map on the Hyrule Warriors Majora's Mask DLC is actually really cool. Because the other Hyrule
Hmm.
Warriors adventure maps are just complete a mission, go to the next square, complete a mission, go to the next square. It's still like Majora's Mask DLC, except it's got a counter, like the 72 hours in Majora's Mask. It's got that counter at the bottom, so every time you complete a mission and open another square, it goes down an hour. And if you whether you win or lose that battle, it goes down an hour. And if you don't clear everything by the end of the 72nd hour, then the timer resets, the board resets. Any items you've kept, any levels gained are still kept, and you can still see what's on the squares that you've previously reached, but
Hmm.
you have to start back at the middle.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty much what Majora's Mask is like.
yeah, and it's actually really cool.
I like that
Like
concept. That
it's
is neat.
such a challenge, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, that I mean that's what Majora's Mask is. It's a huge challenge. As I stated in one of my tweets when I was playing it, like Majora's Mask was harder than any puzzle in Ocarina of Time ever was. Such a ramped up difficulty, and although you do have a fairy still, you've got Tattle now instead of now. Tattle is not as forthcoming with the hints. She doesn't just jump in your face every 3 seconds and tell you exactly where to go
Well, to be
once you beat
fair,
her.
that was a lot of people's main complaint of Ocarina was the hey, listen, hey, shut up.
Yeah, and it was really tiring. And Ocarina of Time, I'm working on the write up for it right now. It's so hard to write up a game that's been held at such high standards by millions of people. I mean, it's
Mm.
it's a lot of people's favorite Zelda game, and I'm gonna tear it apart.
Well, that's one of those. Like I've seen videos online before of people doesn't stand up to what it originally was. When it originally came out, it was the first 3D Zelda, and it blew everybody away. And for a lot of people, it was like their Final Fantasy VII. It was their first Legend of Zelda game, and so it introduced them to this wonderful one.
Yep.
And it's just there. It's a bunch of time wasting. Like there are. It is a great story. It's a fun time. It should be experienced for sure. But it's like so many things that you originally think, oh, it made the game longer and more interesting, when really it just made it longer and a slog.
Yes,
And if
absolutely.
you
One
go
of
back
my
and scrutinize the original version by today's standards, then it's really not as awesome.
No, and I've had people tell me before, they're like, well, I mean, I don't understand you. I don't get it. It's Ocarina of Time. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. The first four games like I just did. Go
Mm,
back and play them. Enjoy those first four games because they're wonderful. And as soon as you go from A Link to the Past, which is some people's favorite, I went to Link's Awakening, which is another handful of people's favorite, and the game just feels empty. Like you go into Hyrule Field and you don't realize it, like when you're just playing through Ocarina of Time because you're just playing. But it's like moving around that field, there's nothing. The whole game is just there's nothing. If you see a tree, I mean, there might be a hole next to it, and that's the only reason the tree is there is to show you there's a hole here. There's nothing
right.
just for the sake of being like pretty. It's I don't know. It was a little disheartening almost when I played
Mm.
through how bleak the whole landscape was going back to it. And they did fix a little bit of it in Ocarina of Time 3DS, and I get that they wanted to upgrade it and give it something that the system could handle. But playing the original one just kind of bummed me out, man.
And I bet. I'd be
And I
interested to see the write up.
yeah, it's like I said, it's taking a little bit because I want to make sure that I don't step on any toes.
Well, you know what? I think from the sounds of it, you're going to need to step on some toes.
Yeah,
And we're
it's
just
just
going to
my
have to deal with it. They're
just my
not
I mean
marathoning this series. You are.
exactly. You know what? Water Temple still sucked. I thought I was doing good, and every time I thought I was doing good, I missed another key. I was like,
Nice.
this ain't bad. I can do this. Oh wait, no, there's another locked door. Okay, cool. Let's redo this entire dungeon to find that key I missed.
Yeah, that's always fun.
I think I probably mentioned this before, but I never really had too much of an issue with the water temple. In fact, a lot of friends used to have me come over their place and beat it for them. But I will say one thing. As someone who's played the 3DS version over the original, the one thing that I'm really glad that they changed, and the one thing that always irked the hell out of me was like, you'd have to, okay, I gotta change to the iron boots. Alright, I gotta pause. I gotta go to the menu. I gotta equip the iron boots. Okay, I gotta walk like a couple of feet. All right, now I gotta take the iron boots off. I gotta go back to the menu. I gotta, unequip them and equip the other boots, and then I gotta go back and I gotta walk a little bit further, and it's just
Yeah,
in the 3DS to have to just be able to do it quickly with the press of a button was a major improvement.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I know that was a big argument, but this was also where you had those three quick buttons. So the first four before that, I was used to swapping out, going to a menu, swapping the item for the one I needed. So it didn't bother me that bad. I was okay with that. There
It's
was just
interesting you say that because it's similar with Final Fantasy. Like in Final Fantasy 3, because I was playing the original version, it like when you go, you know how nowadays in RPGs, if you go to the menu to change your equipment, it'll say like you'll select the old item and you'll select the new item. You'll scroll over the new item and it'll be like, oh, this will raise your attack and defense, but it'll lower your magic defense. And you can kind of compare before you change it.
Hmm.
You can just go from one to the next. And Final Fantasy 3, because it's old and archaic, you have to like it doesn't tell you how much the stats are going to raise. You have to equip something before you can compare what it is. So I'll buy things to see if it's going to raise my stats, and if it doesn't, I'll reload my game
Right.
oh
because
wow.
it's like you have to just trial and error it. And so now Final Fantasy 4, it's just a little tweaked and a little upgraded. I'm like, wow, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I guess for me, I kind of have the same issue with Mega Man, is that at least 1 through 6 back on the original NES, well, granted, I'm playing it on the Anniversary Edition on the PS2, so they kind of tweaked it a little bit where you can use the L1 and R1 triggers to change the powers the weapons on the fly. But
right.
originally you would have it's like, okay, well, I need to use this power up against this enemy. Okay, I gotta press pause, go into the menu, and as the games went on further and you got more and more weapons and items and stuff, it got so ridiculous that now you got 2 pages worth of item screens, and you got to find the item you need. And in Mega Man 7, when it got to Super Nintendo, now that it has the triggers, you could change on the fly your weapons without going to the menu, but it's annoying still because it's like, okay, Mega Man's normally blue, and I want to use Iceman's or whatever the ice enemy of the game is, uh, because even though all the games have different enemies, you know, I can't tell you how many of those games at least have one fireman or robot that uses fire weapon or ice or something like that. So it's like, okay, Mega Man's usually blue. All right, I'm switching to a weapon that turns him to a different shade of blue, and that
Yeah.
and then I need to and then if I press the trigger again, now he is a shade of gray, and there's another weapon that's a lighter
How
shade of
many
gray.
shades of gray is he?
I
Insert
do want to
obvious
count them.
joke here.
I wasn't even going for that. That's clever. So yeah, so that can be a little annoying as well, and obviously that just speaks to the limitations of these older games that we're playing.
You have the levels where you could interact with them based on the boss weapons you had equipped. Super Nintendo ones where you could, if you had an Iceman's weapon, you could use it to freeze water or use it to freeze lava to reach hidden items. Was that in seven, or is that am I thinking of a later game?
No, that's in 7. Definitely as the later games go on, you get more items. You can use, the weapons that you've acquired. You can use their powers to manipulate the levels around you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I'm working on in my write-up of Mega Man 7. Is that Mega Man 6 had I think it started really in Mega Man 5, and then it's gone to 6 and to 7, and as it goes further on, there's a lot more emphasis on hidden items and being able to go back into levels after you've beat them to find all these hidden things. Like you said, in Mega Man 7, it's like you can use the freeze weapon to, destroy a waterfall made of lava to get behind it and find a piece of equipment that you need. Stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's like as the Mega Man games go on, they definitely get a lot more. I wouldn't say open world, but open ended in the sense that it becomes a bit of a treasure hunt, where you know the more you look and find things, the better you can have a chance of upgrading your equipment. Otherwise, you'd have the most basic equipment going through if you don't search for these things, and the game
Right.
would most certainly be a lot harder.
I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah.
I know with the X series, your different armor suits too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be a playthrough. Are you gonna plan on trying to get all the different armors through the games, or you're just gonna kind of do it as you see fit?
Um, I think I mentioned before that I am unshamelessly using guides for a lot of these
Mm,
games because I don't really want to spend like hours upon hours like trying to figure out on my own which bosses are weak to whose powers and all that. I kind of like to know the order I have to do in the beforehand. And yeah,
mm,
I've been also looking up like, okay, where are these items hidden? How do I get to them and such? Because
okay.
I mean, honestly, I just like I want to play the game as it is, yeah, but at the same time, I also want to experience everything there is to offer.
Yeah, I understand. That happened to me last night actually when I was finished the first boss temple of Majora's Mask, which was insane. Um, you talk about going to the mountain and searching for the Gorons to try to see what's going on in that temple. So I go up there, and all I see is a that you're supposed to use something. Things that the Goron mask you get, you can roll into a little ball, and you can use a little Goron jump kind of. But that's the only way I saw to get to the mountain, and I was so frustrated. I'm like, okay, I know I need the Goron mask to do this jump, but I have no idea where to get it. And all Tattle is saying is, we need to head to the mountain. We need to head to the mountain. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay. So I spent probably an hour or so just wandering around doing different things around different parts of town, see if I could find any clues. I got nothing. So I did purchase not too long ago a Majora's Mask original N64 guidebook.
wow.
which is
Yeah,
awesome.
so I could have that classic experience of laying down on my living room floor with a book, sprawled open, just pouring through the pages, trying to figure out what was going on. And so I went through up until where I was now, and even in the guidebook, it just says "Go to the mountains," and I got so frustrated. And I looked, sitting there looking at the map of it in the book, and the maps in the books are like kind of, they're a little more animated than they are in the game, so they look a little cooler. And I noticed that there's just a ramp that takes you up. It looks so flat, 64's graphics. It doesn't kind of pop out of the wall. It
Yeah.
blends right into it. And so I realized I sat there for an hour and a half walking around, not understanding what to do, and there was simply a ramp that took you up there once you got through a canyon.
That's always how
It
it is.
was
Hey,
it was
I'm
frustrating.
I'm trying also to not use guides if possible. So far, I
Yep.
haven't made it through any of the three Final Fantasies I've played without looking something up at one point or another. But I'm really
Yep.
trying, again, to get that experience of figuring it out, working it out. In Final Fantasy 3, there's a part where I've left the floating island of the beginning of the game, like a water world, where there are just a couple islands. And I remember from playing on the DS game, there's something I need to do where all the water will go away. I had to do something. I had to wake this person up. That's right. There's a sleeping girl who's like the water maiden in a cave that I find in this water world. I had to wake her. Or no, she's not sleeping. She's sick. I had to heal her. I had to make her better. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. There's an old man that's like watching over her, her guardian or whatever, and he doesn't say anything. He's just like, oh, she's so unwell. And you talk to her, and she's just like, And no, I went literally to every previous town I'd found, and I talked to everybody possible. Nobody had anything to say about the Water Maiden, or Water Shrine Maiden, or whatever.
Mm.
Nobody had any hints or clues or tips to give, which, to this point, talking to people, finding that one person that has your information is your goal. Sometimes a bit tedious, but usually they're in a convenient location. Also, you can try and give people items in Final Fantasy 3. So, you just, instead of hitting the talk button, hit the action button. You can go through your item list and say, oh, maybe this important item will help this person. I figured she's sick. Let's try some restorative items. Let's try a high potion. Nothing. Elixir. Nothing. Phoenix Down. None of these items were working. I literally every item in my inventory. Nothing worked. Finally, after probably about an hour or so of looking around, trying things, and nothing happening, I looked it up, much to my chagrin, and I'm supposed to give her an item. I'm at a point in the game where potions don't tell me worth crap. So I don't have any potions. I've got high potions and better. Nobody told me I needed to give her a regular potion. Surely something that's more restorative, like a high potion, would do the same thing. But no. So it's
Wow.
little things like that that they don't tell you. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Um,
and as much as we want to try and get in the original mindset of, oh, this was the best at the time, this is what they had to work with. You would play a game, you'd get stuck, you'd go to school the next day, and you'd talk to your friends, and you'd compare strategies, and you'd say, oh, I found this hidden thing. Oh, that's really cool. And you
Yep.
can't really do that these days.
Well, another thing with the old games, like some of the ones that we're playing, is that if you were stuck, sometimes you needed the power. You needed Nintendo power, where
That's true.
where
That's
like
true.
where like they would explicitly tell you something that is not common knowledge, like, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that, or
Right.
it's like, back then when there wasn't internet and like you said, it was all word of mouth, or you had to rely on official Nintendo
Tips
magazine.
and tricks.
Yeah, or God forbid you even actually cave in and call their, 900 tip line where you're, you know,
I think
it's
before I called the tip line, I'd use a Game Shark.
well,
Yep.
or a Game Genie at that point.
That's right. That's right.
So I mean, like, sometimes yeah, I feel kind of guilty using a guide, and sometimes, but other times it's like, even back then things weren't as straightforward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy VII because I know that game inside and out, and I shouldn't need a guide for that at all.
Yep. That's the same way I was with Ocarina of Time. Hopefully, the age doesn't diminish that game in your eye.
So where do you guys think you'll see yourself the next time we do a podcast?
I mean, I guess it all depends on when we record. If it's another month like this one, I think it's actually almost to the day, a month, which is pretty good. Then I will probably be just wrapped up with an additional game. We'll see how that goes. But I said recently on my Twitter that if I can get a full month ahead of schedule, which after I finished Final Fantasy 3, I was like 24, 25 days ahead of schedule of my
Hmm.
self-appointed schedule.
Yeah,
So
d- I forget if you explained that in episode 0, but how many days have you allotted yourself for each game?
the breakdown is 365 days in a year.
Right.
I am playing 14 games in 365 days. In July, I'm going on a month's holiday. Take out a month from that and divide it, and do some math, and it comes out to about 24 days per game.
Mhm.
The idea is if it takes more than that, I'm going to move on, but I want to play all 14. And I finished Final Fantasy 1 in 12 days, so that gave me 12 extra days up my sleeve. Final Fantasy 2 and 3 each took me 19 days, so that doesn't sound right. No, well, in any case, I got them done early as well, and I'm upset I'm going to add another game into the mix. I'm not saying which game yet, partly because I'm not 100% decided which one, and partly because that's hinging on extenuating circumstances, let's say.
Right.
Hmm.
So, but I'm hoping by the end of Final Fantasy 4 I'll be up enough, and who knows, maybe I'll just take the plunge anyway, just for the hell of it. But in any case, I hope to be done with 2 more games by the time we record next, whether that's 4 and 5 or 4 and insert future title here. So that's where I hope to be. How about you, Josh?
Well, I'm taking on Majora's Mask right now, and again, if it's another month, I hope I am somewhere smack dab in the middle of the Wind Waker. I say that because I have to go through and play Oracle of Seasons before I can get to it. Um, and let me tell you how hard that is. In between recordings, last copy of the Wind Waker HD for the Wii U, and it is still wrapped in plastic.
Oh, that's such a good game. I love Wind
I
Waker. That's one
I
of my top 2 favorites.
It's really exciting to hear, and I'm really excited to play it. So once I get through Majora's Mask, which I hope to really grind out soon, then I'll get through Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, which I'm not sure if many of you know. To beat them both completely, you have to beat them each once, and there's a password system in place. You insert
Yes.
password from one game at the other, beat an additional dungeon, get another password, insert it to another game to get a final boss.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I did know that, but I never played either of them. And part of that
Okay.
was because I just always assumed that they were essentially the same game with a different main item, so some different abilities.
Oh
And I
man,
just didn't want to play through all the same dungeons twice. Is
let me
that
tell
the
you,
case?
you could not be more wrong. They are so completely different games.
Yeah? Awesome.
100% completely different games. Yeah, the Ages actually focuses on more time travel, a la Ocarina of Time, whereas
Hmm.
Seasons, you eventually gain the ability to change different seasons of the overworld. So if you change it to winter, some rivers and lakes may be frozen over. Yeah, it's really really neat. Different subworlds in one of the games. Um, they're completely different experiences. Nothing at all like a Pokemon Red Blue kind of situation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking because that's like all the handheld Pokemon games. Well, I guess all the Pokemon games really were always here are two games that are almost exactly the same, but you can only catch these Pokemon in red and only catch these Pokemon in blue. Different names. I just figured that was the same case.
Not at all.
Good.
They're two very completely different games. Once you beat the one, get the password, beat the other, get the password, then I think eventually you get to fight Ganon as a main boss, where he isn't originally in either game. Once you have both of them,
That's intense.
it's really intense, and I'll be really happy to play those on emulator so you can really get the full effects.
Absolutely. So, Travie, where do you think you're going to be with Mega Man?
Well, I just finished with Mega Man 7, so hopefully start Mega Man 8 soon, but with school and snow and everything else in my life, that might be hard. But, then I got 9 and 10 before I start the X series, so, depending on when we start, have our next episode, probably would like to start the X series, but I've heard that Mega Man 9 and 10, which only came out a few years ago on the PSN network and Xbox Live Arcade and WiiWare and so, is kind of hard. So we'll see how that goes.
I can tell you the only Mega Man game I've ever played and beat. I played a few of them when I was younger at my cousin's, but I
Hmm.
never actually beat any. But I did play and complete Final Fantasy. You can see where my mind's at. Mega Man 9.
Yeah.
And I was not familiar with the franchise. I didn't know what to expect. I just was going through trying to play games. Relative lack of stress. I don't remember much of it. I just remember I was able to beat it and I've got the achievement to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, there is some DLC for it, like all modern games where you can play through the game as Proto Man and there's different modes and
Oh,
whatnot, but I'm probably just gonna do a straight Mega Man run, so
yeah, I think that's fair.
I won't deal with too much DLC and whatnot. So yeah, I'm hoping to be just about to start the X series by the next episode.
Nice. Excellent. So then it'll probably be kind of like this, where it may be a month before we record. Uh, not gonna lie, I would like to do it a little more frequently.
Yeah, me too.
A couple weeks ago we were thinking about it, but it just didn't work out,
Right.
and we easily probably had another half hour, 40-minute podcast out of that. But
Yeah.
we'll just work with what we can. Again, it'll happen when it happens. But for now, you guys can keep up with our updates on our Twitters. Mine is at Zachary P. Lyons.
I'm at JHOF87.
And I am at Return of the Yak.
And from there, you can find links to our individual respective blogs, which may or may not be combining soon. We'll
Ooh.
see.
Foreshadowing.
Hmm.
Exciting.
Yes.
And if you want to search, instead of seeing our regular asinine everyday tweets, just search for our hashtags. Mine is hashtag road to 15 and 15. That's road to XV in 1-5.
I'm hashtag Hylian Wanderer, HYLIAN Wanderer.
And I am hashtag Blue Bomb and Run.
And that's blue bombing with a
ING.
G. He's got that accent.
Yeah. Blue Bam and Run over here.
Blur, blur, blur.
I didn't know what that was. Oh man.
Hashtag blur, blur, blur. First turd.